Hi, I am Victor Sucasas, Lead Cryptography Engineer in the Cryptography Research Centre at the Technology Innovation Institute here in Abu Dhabi. Our team currently focuses on privacy-enhancing technologies for cloud-based services, such as secure multi-party computation, fully homomorphic encryption, verifiable computation, or privacy-preserving authentication. In this session, together with my colleague Abdel, we will be presenting our latest developments on privacy-preserving authentication. Specifically, we have designed and implemented a new solution that combines a pseudonym-based authentication system with a secure multi-party computation protocol. So we will show how this system works and why secure multi-party computation is a fundamental component. But first, it is important to have a closer look at the problem that we are trying to solve, which is user profiling. Cloud-based services are thriving. Nowadays, there are countless applications online, which normally require users to register and create online accounts. To do so, users frequently disclose their real identity, phone number, email address, or any kind of data constant that can be linked to them. So it is straightforward for a set of colluding cloud services to link the different accounts that users have online. This implies that users' activities can be easily traced, and cloud services can generate highly detailed user profiles containing sensitive information by simply snooping when and to which service a user is accessing. A potential solution to prevent user profiling is to build a system that enables users to create anonymous accounts across the different services. These anonymous accounts ideally should be completely unlinkable between each other and to the user's identity to prevent cloud services from inferring any information about the user. However, we must also make sure that anonymous users do not take advantage from their anonymous state to misbehave, to break the terms and conditions of the cloud services. So this may sound like a trade-off between user privacy and cloud service security, but it is not. We can achieve both things at the same time by adopting a pseudonym system that provides conditional privacy. This is, users can be anonymous until they misbehave. There are different ways to build a pseudonym system, adopting different technologies that have been proposed by the research community, such as digital anonymous credentials, public key cryptography, identity-based cryptography, or homomorphic encryption. Previous pseudonym systems use these technologies and cater for a diverse set of features, but here in TII we have developed our own pseudonym system with very specific characteristics that is adequate for the cloud-based service scenario, and also that can be implemented easily together with a secure multi-party computation protocol. So let's see how this system works. In our system, first a user registers in a trusted certification authority and obtains a credential. With this credential, the user can generate a pseudonym. A pseudonym is nothing else than a fake identity that looks like a random number, so it contains no information about the user identity. This pseudonym can be used to create an anonymous account, and it can be reused many times to access an anonymous account previously created. But the account cannot be stolen by an external entity, even if the pseudonym is public, because to use this pseudonym, the user must possess the corresponding credential, which is never disclosed. In this system, a user can generate an unlimited number of pseudonyms with only one credential. The users are not required to contact the certification authority to create more pseudonyms, which makes the system scalable. Also, all pseudonyms are randomized, so it is not possible for cloud services to identify whether different pseudonyms were generated with only one credential or with different credentials. This prevents colluding cloud services from linking activities in different anonymous accounts to the same anonymous user, which could eventually allow cloud services to infer some information about the user identity. Another relevant factor that we must consider is that if we have a system where many pseudonyms can be obtained with only one credential, then a single user could create several anonymous accounts in the same cloud service. This would enable a user to behave like many users towards a specific cloud service, which is known as civil attack and can have deleterious effects for cloud services. To solve this issue, our system embeds indexes in the pseudonym construction, so that users can only generate one pseudonym per index value. Cloud services can publish a specific service index so that users can only access with one specific pseudonym and create a unique anonymous account. Also, from the cloud service perspective, it is fundamental to detect and exclude all users that misbehave. This is especially challenging when the users access the service anonymously. In our system, when an anonymous user misbehaves, the corresponding pseudonym can be revoked and the user de-anonymized. This can only be triggered by the certification authority and never by the cloud service providers. So we can achieve both user privacy and accountability at the same time. Thus, we have a system that is scalable, accountable, and that ensures user privacy. But it has one requirement. It needs a trusted certification authority to issue the credentials to users and to enforce revocation in case of misbehavior. This is actually a common requirement in all pseudonym systems with similar characteristics. Current pseudonym systems require a leap of faith in an external entity, the certification authority, from both the cloud services and the user. The problem is that if the certification authority gets corrupted, then the system fails. Specifically, in our proposed system, the certification authority learns the user's credential during the generation process. Thus, a corrupted certification authority can leak this credential to an external entity. And any entity in possession of this credential can replicate the user's pseudonyms and impersonate the user. Also, the certification authority can trigger the de-anonymization of any user. This implies that when colluding with cloud services, a corrupted certification authority can link the user's accounts to the user identity and profile the user activities. A corrupted certification authority is not only a privacy threat for users, but also a security vulnerability for cloud services, because it can generate credentials to illegitimate users, thus granting access to services for which the users do not have access rights, or generate more than one credential to single users to enable civil attacks. It is clear that a pseudonym system with a corrupted certification authority is even a worse scenario than not having any privacy-preserving authentication system in place. The system is only secure if the certification authority can be trusted. The main problem that we face and that we need to solve to make this system a reality is to provide trust. And we can do that with secure multi-party computation.
Hi everybody. Wait, secure multiparty what? Well, secure multiparty computation, or MPC for short, is simply a family of crypto techniques. Well, crypto as in cryptography. These techniques allow any number of parties to compute a function together. You might say, that doesn't sound so complicated. Well, we can do this keeping inputs from all parties private. It's just like magic, but better. Let me give you an example using something more familiar to all of us, like the diagnosis of health issues, more specifically, hereditary problems via genetic analysis. Research consortiums and companies use advanced statistical techniques to build models on genetic aggregated data so that they can identify these health issues. These models are constantly improved because they can be a source of revenue for the companies. Because of this, companies would not be so keen to disclose their models, say, to the doctors. Companies could of course perform this analysis directly over your genetic samples, but then they would learn the diagnosis, and this can have an impact not only on you, but on your whole family. Managing this information is a responsibility or a liability companies would rather not to have. It is also information you might not be so willing to share. Even if these companies adhere to the principles of privacy by design, wouldn't it be much better for all parties involved if companies can provide you with the analysis without holding the samples? Is this even possible? And if it is, how this would look like? In other words, we want a machine where the companies and doctors can introduce secret inputs and a diagnosis is revealed exclusively to the doctor. Ideally, this machine should be able to do the computations keeping the input secret, while giving us guarantees about the correctness of the computation. Well, this machinery exists and is called MPC. Let's talk a bit, for instance, about one of the most basic and one of my favorite MPC protocols, oblivious transfer. Here, one party, let's call it the sender, has two inputs and another, the receiver, can query one of them. The protocol gives you exactly what both parties want in terms of privacy. The receiver does not learn the other input, and the sender does not learn the receiver's choice. This can be generalized for as many inputs as you want. Did you also notice how there were only two parties involved? Well, the number of parties is not a limitation. MPC gives you alternatives for as many parties as you want, hence the multiparty. Actually, this is only one of many protocols in the MPC toolkit. What does it mean for us? Well, we believe in the corporatization of risk. Instead of trusting one service provider, we divide trust among a set of them. Using protocols for the multi-party case, we can then create anonymous credentials without the need of trusting a centralized party. The only risk on our setup is something called collusion, which is what would happen if all the service providers collaborate to learn the secret. Not how I said all of them. That is why more means better, trading efficiency for security. The next unavoidable question is, security? What do we mean by it? And can we actually demonstrate to you that our protocols are secure? Our definition of security might be stronger than what you are thinking. Remember the machine from our example? Well, imagine a universe where it actually exists. Let's call it an ideal functionality, or F for short. We are going to assume the machine is capable to compute any function, such that no party learns anything about each other's inputs. When we have a real MPC protocol, we compare it with this ideal functionality. This is an oversimplification, but we say our protocols are secure as long as an adversary cannot distinguish if he's dealing with the ideal or the real. That is how strong our notion of security is. In some cases, we can even achieve something we like to call perfect security. What if parties misbehave? I already mentioned collusion, right? MPC protocols can withstand corruptions. In the ideal world, our ideal functionality should be able to protect privacy even in the presence of coalitions of corrupted parties. We then, by definition, can achieve the same in the real world. But enough of theory. Could any user benefit from MPC? Well, big tech companies use these techniques today to help you secure your passwords. Browsers could identify if you are planning to use insecure passwords without ever learning the password you are trying to use, thanks to something called private set intersection. And yes, this is also MPC. Now, back to you, Victor.
MPC can solve the inherent problem of trust that our pseudonym system has. By integrating secure multiparty computation, we get a distributive, privacy-preserving authentication system without certification authorities. Both the credential generation and revocation processes can be done in a distributive fashion directly by the cloud services. From the user perspective, if only one cloud service is honest, the system is secure. On the other hand, from the cloud service standpoint, the participation of the cloud service in the credential generation process ensures that no credentials are given to illegitimate users. Specifically, in this system, each cloud service produces a credential piece. These pieces are sent to the user, thus only the user can combine all these pieces into a new credential. Since all these pieces are required to construct the credential, the user only needs to trust one cloud service to be sure that the credential is not leaked to an external entity. Also, all cloud services are required to perform the credential generation process. No entity alone or subset of entities is able to produce a valid credential. Thus, malicious cloud services cannot generate and issue credentials to illegitimate users. The revocation process is also performed distributively by all cloud services. A misuser pseudonym can be tracked and linked to the credential generation process, so the misuser can be identified. But even during the revocation process, the credential is never revealed, so the other pseudonyms belonging to this user are still unlinkable, and the user's privacy is protected even during the de-anonymization process. In very specific cases, a user's pseudonym in a cloud service should be linked to another pseudonym from the same user in a different cloud service, even to a pseudonym that has not yet been created. This allows several cloud services to operate cooperatively when the user consent is implicit by the kind of service. This process of pseudonym creation and linking can also be performed by means of secure multi-party computation, without disclosing the user's credential and revealing the new pseudonym only to the corresponding cloud service. The main advantage of adopting MPC is that we eliminate the need for a trusted authority. Trust is distributed among many entities, requiring only one of them to be honest for the system to be secure. Eliminating the certification authority does not only provide a more secure system, but also reduces the architectural complexity and the operational costs. Here at TII, we are already implementing this system in a prototype, and it will soon be available in an Android application to be tested in real scenarios.